Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. Today is day 17th in DDCDP23 and part 7 of building MVC framework in PHP. In this lecture, we will be using, so far we haven't worked with sessions, so creating a class, we'll be creating a class for session handling. Then we will be setting up flash messages which we can use while submitting forms and all of such instances. We also create a Twig Factory class to incorporate a new Twig function to read flash messages from sessions. So this basically will let you know how to create custom Twig functions also. And then we will be setting up CSRF tokens in forms, which is a security measure in web. So let's dive in. We will start with sessions, and you already have studied about sessions, what they are. Basically, web is a stateless protocol, so we need to have some information on the server which can be used for subsequent requests that the previous request was from a particular user. It has a lot of uses. You can Google about it to just refresh your memory. But what we want to achieve is that in this application, we haven't yet so far used sessions. So we need to have a session class which can easily be used across the application. One of the uses is to use it for flash messages. And what flash messages are, that you save some sort of text or message in key inside the sessions, but that is only for one server request. So flash messages are saved in session for one server request. So for example, if I save this form, it will display me a message that the record has been saved. But if I refresh the page, that message won't be there. So the logic we will be creating is to remove the message from the sessions once it is displayed to the user. So let's start creating a session class. Inside the framework, we will create a folder and call it session. Maybe if we have more than one session class at some stage, so all of them will reside here. We can create an interface also, but to save some time, we'll just create a session class. We can call it session, or maybe session handler .php. So if you need to have all the functions of this class or methods of the class, so as a contract you can create an interface also, but I will directly create the methods in it. First things first, we should have a namespace which is framework session, and then the name of the class session handler. We should have a constructor for it so that we can start session underscore start in it. We can type session underscore start in it. But if we have more than one instance of a session in our application, which should not be the case actually, but if it is there, it will throw an error or a warning. So what we can do is we can wrap it inside an if statement. If there is a built-in PHP method called session underscore status, if it is equal to so these are the three constants which we can use. So this one, PHP session none, it means if it is not yet started, then we will start it. So that it doesn't throw any warnings to us. Okay, but once it is started, so if it isn't started, it will start it, otherwise it will leave it as it is. Then we should have some helper methods in this session, which actually will be reading all the keys from $_session variable. So the first one is get should get a key. So for example, if the $ session array has some key, so it will be passed to it, which is a string, and then we can have, or let us leave it like this for now. So what it will return is set $_ session. If inside the session, if this key is set, so it will return that key. Otherwise it will return null. Then we will have a setter. So what set will do is string $key and then string, or maybe any value, which can be a mixed value. Okay, so whatever value is passed to this set, so it will set it in the session. So it can be $_ session and the key equals whatever value is passed to it. Okay, we can ask the session class to get us to return a boolean to show if a value exists in the session array. For that we can use has key, or has something like this, maybe has key is fine. So it will be passed a key and it will return, the return should be a boolean. So return is set $_ session and the key $. So if it is set, it will return true, otherwise false. Similarly, we can have a method for removing something from the session. So it can be delete or delete key or remove key, you can call it anything. It will be unset $_ session and then the key. Okay, so that's how any key can be removed or added to the session array. But for flash messages, because we need to deal it differently, then it actually is a key inside the session array, but it will only be for one server request. That's why we should deal it differently. For that purpose, if I add, you can add a constant here. So you can name your flash key inside the session anything, but right now we can use this flash key constant. So it actually will be something like this. For example, $_ session flash. So this key will be used for all the values inside the flash messages key in the session. So for example, if a message is success, if it is a happy message, so it will have a sub key of success and then empty, and then any your message, your record has been saved, because there can be more than one success message. That's why you need one more level of nested array. So this is the value. Actually this you can customize it to your needs because of this constant in the. So if I have to programmatically access this flash now dynamically, so it will be self colon the name of the flash key, like this. So you access constants in the class with self keyword. Hope this is clear. So we'll create getters and setters for this flash also, just like we did for the normal keys in the session. So it's going to be public set flash. So again this is going to be a key inside the flash key. So what this will do is $_session, it should be something like this, $session, or we already have now the set methods here. This is the set, so we can reuse that method here. This dot set, and what we need to set the self flash key. So this will be the key for and then the value. The value should be a flash variable, which is an array, because the key is, sorry, I had some bell at the door, so I had to stop. So this is going to be an array because the flash key is going to be a nested array. So first, let us first grab that, and that flash value is, as we have a get method already. Now what are we going to get? We'll get the self flash key. So if it is set, we'll get it, otherwise we'll get empty array. So if this value is there in the session, it will be stored in flash key. Now we will add one extra. You can do it directly also, but it is very easy this way. So now this is an array of the flash key from the main $_session. Actually this is, let me just use it like this, $_session and flash. So if there is this key $flash, it is being stored here. Now we can add extra type, and that is going to be the key here. For example, flash success and something like that, or error. So that key should be passed here, and the message should be, and we should have a message also in the function message. Both are strings. So flash key will be assigned the $message like this. Now we have populated the flash key $flash key with this message, and now we will set the self flash key again to this value. So that's how this value will be set. Now we, just like has key, we should have has flash message. So if there is some message in the key, it should be returning it. For example, success. So public function has flash, and if I pass it some key, it will also return is set $session self. So it will return $, and we can also use the string self flash key. So if the key is set, it can be success or anything, whatever is passed to it, or errors. So it will be basically a boolean, it should return. Okay, similarly we can remove a key so public function remove flash key, or remove flash altogether. Because flash messages are only for once, so we must do it, we should clear the whole array. So it should be unset $_session and self underscore scope resolution operator for self, and whatever the flash key is. So it will remove the whole flash data from the session. And now the most important, I left it to the last because it is a bit tricky to get the flash values. So public function get flash, and this is the most important method in this session class, because we have to clear the get flash once the message is read. So if we get it, it should clear that particular key also. So for example, if I want to get flash of type success or whatever, so it will be passed a key, and then the flash should be we can use the this dot get method, and it's self flash key again, otherwise empty array. So self flash key, otherwise if it is not there, so it will return an empty array like this. This is fine. Then we should, if the type is passed to the function, so if that type exists in it, we will store it in a variable and unset that type, and then we'll set the flash key again. So that, let us do. So for example, this is the whole flash key. Then in this type or key which is passed to it, we'll check if that exists. So if is set $_ underscore session, and the type is going to be self, or maybe we should do it in the flash now. So if the flash type exists like this, so for example, if this is going to be the messages for success, so we can grab those messages. It is going to be a key because we have used key. So if this exists, the message is going to be this. Okay, so this is basically a backup for this key, because we are going to remove this key now so that it doesn't show up the second time the page is refreshed. So what we can do is we will unset the flash key now. So this is going to be the next step: unset flash and $key. So now the session won't have this value, but it has been saved in the messages as backup, which we can then use. And we will resave so that this value has been removed from the main flash key message. So we will set it back, and we already have this, so we can use already this set method we have. So this will be, the key should be inside the flash key. It should be this flash message. Now the key has been unset already and it has been saved in the messages array, so we will just reassign it like this. Okay, this function should return the messages array, because there can be more than one message, so it should return an array. So we can use it here. And return messages. Even if it is not set, so we can return an empty array. Okay, so let us recap. What we have done is the get flash will be passed a key, for example success or error or something like that. So it will get that key from the session and store it inside the flash variable. So if the flash sorry, not that, but the main flash key, so if this key which is passed to the get flash is present on the flash key, so we will get that value and save it in a temporary variable. and set that original variable from the session key, and then reset that so that this value is not there in the final result, and we will return the messages. This will have all the values as we have saved it in the backup, and then we will return it. So more or less the session class, if we unless we have some typos or anything, so it's probably working now. The next step we have to think where can we make this session available so that it is available everywhere in the application for us. So one of the ways is to assign it to maybe the request, because more we will have request available in many places. So let us try that. If we need sessions somewhere else where request is not available, the request variable, so maybe we can rethink about it, but for now let us add it to the request variable or the request class. Okay, so in the dispatcher, we are in the dispatcher handle URL method, we are passing the request here. So here we can initialize from the container the session class and pass it to the request. So what we can do is, in the request class, if you go to the HTTP request class, maybe we can set up private or protected, whatever, session handler, and the variable should be session or session handler. So now we need to use this. Probably by now you should be familiar with how framework session handler. Okay, so this is the variable we need to set. So we should have a set method here. Set session and it should be passed session handler or session. Let us call it session handler, because then gets confusing with the session. Okay, so this function will do just one thing, to assign this dot session handler, whatever is passed to it as a session handler here. This variable is assigned by whatever will be passed to the session handler. So now if we go to the dispatcher, and even at the top of the page where the request is forwarded, we can add this to the session class. So now first we need to get the session handler is going to be container get session handler. So session handler is going to be a class, so session handler, this one, and $sign class, and we can use this in here, which already has the editor done for us. Use framework session handler, and this is going to be this dot container. And remember the role of the container, it gives us initialize classes on demand. So this will initialize and give us the session class which is saved in the session handler. Now the next step is we will pass this to the request set session method, and it will save it as a private variable on the property on the request. So this will be request we already have now because we are passing it to the function, and then set session, and this will give us, now the request will have a set session everywhere we need. The next step is we should in the index in the form, in the new form, for example this one, when I add this, so the process of this controller action should call the session flash set flash method and save that to the session. So if you remember, if you go to base controller, not the base controller, rather the entity controller, so the process method is where we are processing the forms. So if result, it means if all everything is fine, go back to this lecture, the previous one probably, if you have any concerns. But if result, it means the data has been inserted. So here we need to have we need to basically add the session set flash for success. So here, and again, if we go to the top of the class, and then the it extends the base controller. So if we go to base controller, you can see it has the public request already. So that request we already have, we can call the session class methods here. So inside the controller, entity controller, in the process here, once everything is successful, before the header redirect, we can do is we can use this dot request, and then request now has a session. So it's let us go back to the method. This is session handler. Okay, so it's going to be a session handler. And the session handler okay, because it is private, that's why it is not accessible. So what we need to do is we can just change this to public for now. We can create a get method for also for this, so that well, let's do that first. So let us change it back to, in the request, let us change it to private again, and here we will create a get for this variable getter. We'll call it get session, or maybe class, we can call it get session class, and it will return return this our session handler. This is going to be the return value of the method. So in the entity controller again we can use get session class. So this will return the class. Now we can call the set flash method on it, and the type should be success because it is going to be a happy message. And then we can use your record has been submitted successfully. Now this will save it in the session. This once the record is submitted, it will save it in the success key on flash, and the value will be this. We can use the PHP's printf function also and use $id here, but let us do it directly here. So it is $id. Okay, so let us try now if this saves it in the session. So test name, now it has been saved. Just to check whether that session has been, because we need to test it also. So let us create some dummy page in the index.public directory, this one, maybe just test.php, and here if we use var underscore dump on $session, this is see if that key has been created. So if I so probably it is working, because now the session is array with a flash message, and the flash has an array because we can have more than one success message. So the success is your record with 27 has been created successfully. Probably we have some problem in it. Let me just double check if the array we are creating is the flash key is an array. So okay, then the success is directly a value, so we should have a nested part in it. Let me just check, but at least the session has been created. And if we refresh it at this stage, if we refresh it any number of times, so this message is not going away because we have not yet implemented the logic to remove the message once it is viewed. Okay, but I will double check how we are using the set flash. So it's going to be this. Yes, we are having a problem. The key should be, because there can be more than one messages, success messages, so it should be a double array. Should fix that problem. Now if I create another one, and here we should destroy the session so that we can test it properly. Okay, the array is empty now. If I add it again and testing again, testing, whatever it is, sorry for these ugly characters, and then save. I refresh the page. So now we have flash array success, and then it has this value. The 0 index is this record, so maybe if there are more than one, we can now grab those as arrays. Okay, so we are able to set the messages in the flash success key after the form is submitted. Now the next step is to show them on the page inside the Twig here that your record has been successfully submitted, but only once. So now we need to call the get flash message method, this one. Go to the session handler, get flash, this one. So this method needs to be called to show the message, but at the same time it unsets that message so that the next time it is not available. It should only be available one time. So for this we can pass the session variable to the Twig, but calling this function may not be possible easily, because we need to call this method once we show the message in the Twig. So for that we can make a Twig Factory class which will do this for us. So let's do it. If you remember, if you go to services.php, so that's how we are loading the Twig right now. Go back to the Twig class so that you can know what we are doing at the moment. So we are the first thing is to set the file system loader, and then it returns the file system loader with the base path. Then the loader is obtained from the container and passed to the environment class, and there the new environment is returned. So we need to make some changes here. We will not be doing it from here. We will now create a new we will now create a new class which will do it for us. So inside the framework we can create a new folder and call it template. So any Twig related code should go here. The folder is template.php, sorry, just a template. And if you remember, we had created a Twig wrapper, also the Twig Weaver. This is a class, so we should move it to the template as well, so that all the Twig related classes are in the same place. We will move it. So moving will actually let us change the namespace also. So it should now be framework and template, not just template. The rest I think it is okay now. If we need any change, we will do it, but the namespace has been changed. Okay, the next step is to create the Twig Factory. So we'll call it Twig Factory .php. It's a class with a namespace and the name of the class is Twig Factory. Okay, the role of this class will be to create the Twig environment variable for us. So what it should have is a session class also, as well as the template path variable and the create method, which will create those file system loader as well as the Twig environment for us. So let us create the create method first. So if we call the create method, it will return an environment. An environment is of the Twig environment, like this, and we should use this Twig environment variable here. In the constructor also we need to have two things. One should be the session handler class. We need session here as well, so session handler class from the framework, this one, $sign session handler, and template path. If you remember, we had used template path for setting up the Twig. So this is going to be a string, session class, string, and template path. These two things should be in the constructor of the, and if we assign it with this, so this is promotion, property promotion, so this will be property, or let us do it this way. So that these are available as properties on the, so session handle is the property now, and the this template string also is a property. We'll be using passing these things from the services.php, replacing that code. But once the create method is called, it will now, let us copy all that to from the services.php. For services.php, we'll copy this logic, and we already have explained this, so let us not waste some further time on it. I will just copy it to the create method like this. If I need to copy it, and then we'll go to the Twig Factory method and paste it here. Okay, so rather than returning it, we will create, and we are not using it via the container at the moment, so it will be loader equals new file system loader. So let us include file system as well. Quick loader file system loader. Okay, so loader is going to be new file system loader, and here we need to pass the, so whatever is passed to the constructor, that will be here. So it will be this dot template path. Okay, now we have the loader object here inside the create method, and the this is known as factory method, or create methods are known as normally the factory methods. So what it can do for us is it will create the environmental class, which is actually the Twig class. Then we will create a new environment variable of the class environment and pass it the loader. So remove this class line which is redundant now. Now we need to create new environmental loader, this one. So what we can do is twig equals this will be passed the environment, and environment we already have included used. And we will return the twig now. So this twig will actually be the main twig object for us. So whenever now we need a twig variable, we will not do it directly from the environment, new twig environment, but we will use the Twig Factory class for it. Okay, this is almost the same code, so we need some extra spices to it. Then second argument for the environment class is we can have an array passed to it. Like this. So in our twig we haven't yet set up debugging. We cannot debug a variable inside the twig at the moment. So what we can do is we can pass those two variables here as an array. So debug should be true, as well as the caching should be false, so that it doesn't cache the output. Before returning the twig, here we need to have a new add extension. There can be a lot of extensions added to twig, and this is add extension is a method in the twig class, and we will pass the new debug extension. Debug extension, this one. And we should use debug extensions as well at the top of the page. So use twig extensions, debug extension, this one. Okay, it already had been. Okay, this one is the wrong one. Probably editor added something else for us. Okay, so we can now use this, and the most important line or code in this file is this. We will add a function also. So basically this line will add functions to the twig for us so that we can use it. And it is going to be add function. This is add function. And it is passed new twig function. This one. This is another, and to this is passed an array. and a key. So twig extension, this one should be, for example, session. So the name of the function in twig, the new function, custom function, will be this. For example, if I pass 2park, so the function will be 2park or anything. So this is going to be the function name, and then what the second parameter is, it will have an array, and the second parameter basically means that which class is, it's actually a callable, so which classes method will be used. So this means this class, and which methods should get us the, so we can make it get session handler. This is the method name. What does this mean? Let us recap. We are adding a new twig function, its name is session, so it will be usable inside the twig for us. And then if that is called in the twig, what should it do? It should actually call this method in this class for us. So let us write this method now. Public function get session handler, and what its rule will be, it will be just returning, we already have set up the session as a private property here, session handler, so it will return this dot session handler. Okay, so now if this session is called in the twig, it will return session for us. So then we can call the get flash method on it, so it will probably get us the messages, but it will also unset it. Okay, so we are almost there. We have one more thing to do, and that is to initialize this Twig Factory class whenever we somebody requests the Twig environment or the Twig class. So if you go to services.php, this all of this code now is redundant, these 3 lines, because we have created a class for it. But if you go to, I will remove it. If you go to the dispatcher, so you can see in the we are using Twig Weaver here, this one, controller set Twig Weaver, and Twig this dot container get environment class. So what this does is this will directly initialize the environment class for us, and then pass the Twig to the controller as well as and also we have changed the Twig Weaver namespace, that's why it's giving us this error. So we will name it change it to template. Okay, so this is the most important line for us, this one. If we have to initialize the environmental class here or anywhere else, because we are using it in the Twig Weaver, if you go to Twig Weaver, this is, so the container we have will initialize this Twig for us the older way. We don't want that. We will now let the container know that whenever the environmental Twig is required, initialize it this way now. So those changes are now going to be made here in the services.php. So what we can do is container set environment class. So whenever this is required, it will function, anonymous function, so we have, yes, we already have it in the services.php. So whenever the environment class variable is required, what we will do is we will initialize, we will call the Twig Factory class, not the Twig environment class anymore, previously which we were doing. So we need to have use framework template Twig Factory. So we will initialize the Twig Factory here. Okay, so if we go back to the Twig Factory class and know what it actually requires, so the Twig Factory will need two classes, the session handler as well as the template path. These two variables will be needed for the Twig Factory class to work properly, and then the create method will create the twig for us. So let us do that in the services.php here. Once this is set called, it means we'll return, or we will create Twig Factory equals new Twig Factory, and it will be passed two things. What are they? The session class as well as the parameter, the template path. So what we can do is new session handler class, and then the second will be base path. We already have a base path constant dot, the same way we will use the templates like this. So this will give an instance of, let us use the session handler also. Okay, so this will create a new instance of this class for us and pass it to the Twig Factory class, and this is now the instance of the Twig Factory class. And if we create Twig equals Twig Factory and create, so this will create this as an environmental class object for us, and we will return it from here. Sorry, return Twig. So now each time the event class is called via container get, something like this, container get event class, environmental class, sorry. So it will run this code inside the and return the Twig class, not via the previous way of doing it, so that we can encapsulate some logic for returning the sessions or setting up the Twig functions and all. Okay, so there is one improvement we can make, because we are using the new session handler here. This will be working fine, but we are creating the session class twice. So what we can do is, at the top of here we can get the session handler class and call it session handler equals this. Now this object is available via this containers session handler class, and we need to pass this variable to this anonymous function. So the way to do it is, it will be, we can use and the variable is session handler. Should be use session and lab. and this class will return environment, Twig environment. Okay, so let us give that as well, this method. Okay, so this will make it available here, so we can use exactly the same instance of the session class rather than redoing it, re-enable creating it. So it will be the same session class now. Now let us try if everything is fine. First we need to just refresh the page. Oh, there will be no errors, but there are errors. What this says is set Twig Weaver must be of type framework Twig Weaver, template Twig Weaver given. Okay, so we need to, because we changed the Twig Weaver, we need to just change. So Twig Weaver here is template. We just need to change the okay, so everything is back to normal. Now we have to try setting up, and first let us refresh the page, or we already have it in, it is now empty, and if I add a new student. But before doing this, we are now supposing that we have set up, if I the extra method in the Twig for sessions. So if I go to student single.html, so here at the top of the page, if a record has been submitted, it should be displayed here. So what we can do is, if so that's the whole purpose of all this assignment. If session, now this method is available, it should be available if it is working fine. If we are ending up on some errors, we will check. But if session dot has flash key success, it means if this is available, then we can do something. Okay, so if I go to the session class again, just to check if the method name is okay. What it was, has flash. Okay, it has flash and key. So it should be has flash, just has flash. Okay, if it has this, what we can do is, and it is going to be an array, so we again will need a loop. So if it is there, for message in session dot get flash success, and for. So it is going to be a loop then, and we will maybe outside here we just need to create a UL. And here we need to just output the message. In real world, you can have well styled messages, splash messages with some cross link, so that you can close it by JavaScript, but here I will just display it to show. So we will output message get flash success. Let us double check the name of the method we have created in the session. This has flash search flash get flash. So get flash is the method, and we are passing the success key, message to it. It will give us the messages and we are looping through the messages. That's why we in the single.html here, if sessions.has flash this will return a boolean. If it has a value, so then it will loop through it and output the message. And all the Twig Factory stuff we did only for this, so that we can have a corresponding function in the Twig, so that we can run these methods on the class. This will return us the class, and this will give us these are the corresponding methods. Okay, now I will try adding a new student. Hopefully things are good. We normally have some errors, but hopefully. So after session, this is something, and press add student. So you can see now your record with 29 has been submitted successfully. It means the session is being read fine, as well as the key is populated. But this message, if it is all working fine, if I refresh the page, this message should go away, because this should be only one time. If it is not going away, it means there must be some problem then with our code. And now the message has gone. You can see the message has gone. It is not showing anymore. Let me just double check it again. Hopefully the ID this time around will be 30. So this is now showing, and if I refresh it, so the code is working properly, and we have done a lot to set up session. Now what we can do is we can even use sessions for all the other requirements we have on the site. One of them is CSRF tokens. So CSRF tokens, if you Google, so CSRF tokens basically are a way of preventing cross-site request forgery. You can read about it yourself, but in short, if we go to the form, we have the new.html for student. So this is students/process. The action is students/process. So some hackers or malicious users can target this action attribute of the form and do some nasty things on our site. So what normally is done to prevent this is, we have a hidden variable here in the form. So for example, if I add a hidden variable, input type is equal to hidden, value equal to, and name equals to, you can call it underscore token or anything. Normally people use it as underscore token or CSRF token or anything. So the value should be some random variable, some random text, and this text should be placed in the session key for CRF as well. So if the form is submitted and it compares it with the session on key on the server, if it doesn't match, so then you can stop processing the form, and you can prompt user for some errors that the CRF token doesn't match with the one on the server. This way some sanity can be prevailed, and hackers at least could be prevented from hacking the site. So here what we can do is, we need to output the CSRF token. It can be anything. For now, let it be a CSRF token variable, which we will need to pass to the function, to the Twig actually. And once the form is submitted, it will compare it with the one on the session. Okay. Okay, in this session handler, here we can add a new key method public set CSRF token. There can be a lot of ways of doing it. This just for demonstrating purposes, so that you can see at least we have implemented some level of security in our forms. So public function set CSRF token if this dot hash key, this one hash key, you can use this hash key CSRF underscore token So what it basically means is that if in the session key, if there is no CSRF underscore token, if this key is not there, so set it. So I will set it to something like maybe this, whatever. Okay. So if it is not there, if the key is not CSRF token key is not there, we will set it. So this $sign underscore session, or maybe not this way, we already have the function this dot set, the key is CSRF underscore token, and the value should be an interesting unique function or anything. So here you can use any logic to create some random key like we used in our earlier part of our application for password saving and all that. But here we will use a method bin to x. You can google about it, bin to x. It is passed some random bytes of 32. So this is another method 32. So this will create some random key for us, which is hard to decrypt, and it will save it in the CSRF token. But if it is already there, it should not be a problem then. Okay. So what now we can do is, if you remember, we are using the new .html.twig, and we already have a value of hidden field set for CSRF token. So if we go to the corresponding class, there can be different places where we can set up this CSRF token, but one of the we are not setting it anywhere else, or the best will be to set it in the controller's action, which will call the new .html.twig. So where it is, maybe the new, where is new, this is the new. So here we render the new file. So what we can do is, this dot request, because we already have request available here, then the get session class, and then the set CSRF token, maybe if we can return it, so CSRF underscore token equals this. We need to make a small change so that the session handler returns this one. It sets it rather, and then we will return this dot CSRF token. So return test dot get CSRF underscore token. So if it is set not set, it will set it and return that token. So get, let us check the get method. So get will return is set this. If it is set, it will return it, otherwise null. Okay. So in the entity controller new, here this dot get set. Okay. Now this value should be passed to the twig here. If you remember, and even we can set the CSRF token somewhere here as well in the properties of the class, so that it is available throughout all the functions. But for now we'll pass it to this as the second parameter. If you remember, to that render method we can pass the second as an array, so it will be token or CSRF token, and this is going to be this token. Now if we refresh the page, hopefully, if I go to all the students, add new student, and if I go to page source, so this is empty. Maybe some problem we have already. Let us check what is the problem. CSRF underscore token is going to be CSRF underscore token. If you go to the new, let us quickly dump this variable just to see if it's null. it means there is some problem with this set CSRF token method. So if we go to the session handler again, function set CSRF token, CSRF token. This is okay. So let me just check one thing. If I go to the controller again, and yes, we are using the old system, we are now using Twig Weaver. If we come back to the bottom of the form, we now use Twig Weaver. We have created this Twig Weaver class as a wrapper for Twig. So let us change this code. We haven't yet changed this, so maybe we just need to just it should be Twig Weaver, not Twig. I will just return it from here. So return this the Twig Weaver. If I refresh the page, let me just check if it still is not there. This that okay, let me add a new one. Maybe we are not setting it up yet. Sorry, but dump it again. Dump it if it is working here. maybe we have already set up, not just me. But this is, the key is there, but it is not making its way to the hidden value for, so it needs to be diagnosed now. It means and let us use this code here so that at any given time it returns us the CRF token. So if it is set up, it should return it. Maybe that's the problem. Now if I go to session handler and the entity controller here, if we dump it, just to see if it gets us something. So it is now outputting it. We paste source, and now we have the CSRF token. It was a long way getting it, but now we have it in the form. Value is this. So the next step is, well, now when the form is submitted and it is not so let us do it. If the form is submitted, we will check for the token value against the session value, and if it is not there, I mean the two don't match, then it would mean that this site has been compromised. So maybe we can do something like this. In the process here at the top of the page, so at the top of the function, we will use this dot request dot get session and get cs underscore rf underscore token. This is going to be session token, and the one in the form will be form token. So this is going to be this dot request. It will be in the post array request post, and it is going to be CSRF token. If both of them don't match, by the way, we can improve this code in some future topic of middlewares, but here you will get the concept. So session token is this, the form token is this, and now if both of them don't match, there is a method hash equals. This is safer and more reliable than doing manual comparison. So if hash equals one string and the other string, so session token form token, if it equals, well and good, otherwise if not, hash equals. So we can throw some exception here. For a time being, we can throw exception. Let's check if everything is working fine. Tokens mismatch. You can create your own exception handler for this also. So if it doesn't equal, it will throw an exception, otherwise it will move on to. So let us try this new this is supposed to, sorry, this is going to be underscore token. The name of the form element is underscore token, not, if you go to single this new, so it is underscore token, not the, so let us retry it. It means it has submitted this record. But if we just fake the CSRF token right now in the process, take control of process this, maybe if we can add just some extra with it characters, so now both are different, it will throw this exception hopefully. If I go to new student, so tokens mismatch in this, so at least you have stopped CSRF problem. But there can be very peculiar and powerful ways of using CSRF tokens, like Drupal. If you refresh it, it refreshes the CSRF tokens, things like this. But this is just for the demo, that you can do something like this for CSRF. And now we will remove this. We can create this CSRF token. We are right now creating it inside the sessions, this method, when it is called explicitly, this one. See, but even we can do this here in the constructor of the session class. So this is also one of the ways we can use this code, so that it creates it when the session class is instantiated. But for now we will leave it like this and move on to the next topic.